Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to art class. Let's get started on something new. So last week we learned about patterns, and the project for this week is going to have a little bit to do with patterns. Patterns will be helpful for what we're doing. It's not 100% the same as what we did last time, but knowing about patterns and even having come up with some patterns of your own will definitely be helpful. So the project for this week has to do with symmetry. Now we've talked about symmetry before. There's a bunch of different kinds of symmetry. We usually say that symmetry is when something is on the same on both sides. Today we're going to learn that that's mostly correct, but it's not all the way correct. That's a good way to explain symmetry, but it doesn't explain everything about symmetry, especially what we're going to talk about today. And that's a very special kind of symmetry, and it's called radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is one of the three main kinds of symmetry that we see in art. Later in life, you'll learn about these in math as well, and it's pretty much the same three kinds. In math, you'll be using that to help solve math problems, to help solve equations. In art, you use symmetry to help come up with designs and patterns and to understand how to keep your artwork balanced or make it unbalanced. But we'll talk all about that later. So right now, let's talk about the three main kinds of symmetry that we see in art. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the one that we usually think of. It's the one that we talk about when we say something is the same on both sides. And that's something called reflection. We can also call this mirrored symmetry. But here's a pretty good example of it. If we take a line, our made up dotted line, and put it right down the middle of this guy, you can see that he has the same stuff on both sides. Now if we could fold him in half, then the shape that we made would look the same. It would have the same outline. There wouldn't be any extra bumps. It's not like he's got one arm sticking out to the side. Everything about him is the same on both sides. That again is reflection. It's just like a mirror. It's like looking into a mirror. That's reflection symmetry. The next kind is pretty easy to understand. It's called translational symmetry. So translational symmetry is when something is the exact same shape, it just moves. So this shape is the same as this shape, and it's also the same as this shape. They're just in different places. They're 100% the same. They just happen to be in different places. So that's a different kind of symmetry. Now the one that we are going to talk about today is real special. And depending upon the shape that you're talking about, it might have some of the other types of symmetry in it, but it doesn't really have to. This one is called radial symmetry. So the way that we can tell radial symmetry, a lot of times we can kind of base it on a circle. Radial means round, pretty much. So if we look at this Captain America shield right here, it's a circle. That doesn't mean that it has radial symmetry just instantly. You have to have some other things happen. The way to tell if something has radial symmetry is if I can spin it to another angle and make it still look exactly the same, then it has radial symmetry. So this is an example of radial symmetry. Radial symmetry has been used in artwork for a very, very long time. A lot of other cultures have been using radial symmetry in designs for parts of their religion, but also just parts of their artwork for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of years. There is a thing that we see in a lot of Eastern religions, like the Middle East, going into Asia, called a mandala, like this thing. So this is a mandala that was made by some Buddhist monks from a place in the world called Tibet. Now, there's evidence that they've been making these since the 4th century, which is like the year 300. So they've been doing it for a long time. Now, if we fast forward 1,000 or so years in history, and we go to the other side of the world, we can see stuff like this. This is a carving found in Mexico. And this was made by the Aztec people around the year 1400. So it's just a little more than 1,000 years later, different parts of the world. These two groups of people would have never met. This was before the internet. This was before people could easily travel around the world in the way that we do now. So it's pretty interesting to see that this radial symmetry, these round designs, have shown up all over the place. One last thing about radial design. We don't just see it in man-made stuff. We can find it in nature. And one of the main places that we find it in nature is flowers. So the next time you're looking at a flower, look at it right from the top, right where you see the centerpiece and then the petals coming out. And it's going to be pretty close to a perfect radial design. Now, the petals might not be 100% the same, but they're going to be pretty close. So today, what we're going to do is you're going to make your own radial design. Now, I'm going to give you an example, and that doesn't mean I want everyone to make one of these things I'm talking about. It's just something that'll help us think about it, maybe make it a little bit easier on us. I want you to think about a pizza. Again, we're not drawing pizzas, but just think about a pizza. Imagine a pizza cut into, I don't know, 8 slices. And on each slice, it has the same toppings in the same spots. So if you have a pizza that has mushrooms and pepperoni, then each slice is going to have the same number of mushrooms and the same number of pepperonis, and they're going to be in the same exact spot on that slice of pizza. So kind of think about that for a minute. Sadly, we're not making pizza. I wish we were, because it's delicious. But that kind of helps us think about the type of radial design that we're going to make. So that's kind of it. That's kind of all I needed to tell you guys about symmetry, and specifically the special kind of symmetry that we're using today, radial symmetry. So let's go ahead and talk about the project and start drawing it. All right, guys. So for our project today, we are going to need some paper. We are going to need a pencil, something to make straight lines, something to color with, and the most important part, something to help you make circles with. Now, it doesn't matter really what size. You want it kind of big, but it doesn't have to be huge. And all these are just lids from plastic containers. This is one that the nice ladies in the cafeteria gave me a few years ago. And as you can see, one time it held chicken salad. Now it's going to help us make our awesome radial designs. So remember, the radial designs are pretty much all based on circles. So that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to put whatever I'm using to help me make a circle in the middle of my paper. And then I'm very carefully going to trace around the edge. Now, I'm using a marker so you guys can see better, but always please use a pencil first. Alright, so there's my circle. Now, if we're still thinking of our pizza idea, I'm gonna slice my pizza. Now, that's why I have a ruler. I want some straight lines coming through it. It's gonna be easier if I put a dot where I think the middle of my circle is. So I'm gonna put just a tiny dot as close as I can get to the middle. Now, it's not perfect. If I take my ruler and I move it around a few times, I can get it close to the middle. But without doing some math and having a protractor and things like that, it's going to be tough to find the exact center. So just as close as you can get is fine. So now I want to draw a straight line going all the way from the top of my circle all the way to the bottom, going through that dot that I made like that. So now my pizza is in 2 slices. I'm going to do the same thing, going from one side all the way to the other, like that. Now, this is all the slices that you need. We just need to have 4. If you want more, you can make more. And I'm actually going to go ahead and do that same thing a couple more times. One right there, and one right here, to divide it into even more circles. But remember, all you need to have is just those first 4. So now, if we're thinking about our pizza slices, the example we said was pepperoni and mushrooms. If I was to make this look like a pizza, I would maybe put 1, 2, 3 pepperonis there, 1, 2, 3 pepperonis there, 1, 2, 3 pepperonis there, and I would keep going till each slice had a pepperoni in the same spot. And then I would put 1 mushroom in the middle, 1 mushroom in the middle, 1 mushroom in the middle. I would keep going till they all had the same spot. Now, since these aren't pizzas, you don't need to worry about toppings, but you are worried about shapes and lines and patterns and things like that. And each slice that you made, whether you stopped at 4, whether you made some more like I did, needs to have the same shapes in the same spots, the same lines, the same patterns in the same places. So there's 2 ways to do that. You can either do one 100%, get it all the way done, everything you want on it, and then move and copy it to there, and then move and copy it to there, and then move and copy it to there. The hard thing about that is recreating it exactly the same every time. But if that's how you want to do it, that's fine. The other way to do it, which is the way I would do it, is I would draw one shape here and then move to my next one and do the same shape in the exact same spot. I think it's easier to do it that way, so you're just worrying about copying one thing at a time than if we were to fill one all the way in and then try and copy the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do it the way I said. I think it's easy for me. And I'm going to start on this one, and I'm going to start adding some things and then work my way around. I'll do a couple and I'll speed it up just so you can kind of get the idea. And we don't have to stay inside of our circle. You can add stuff outside if you want. A lot of the examples that you'll see on the underneath this lesson on our website of those mandalas, they don't stop at a circle. They come out. A lot of those look like flowers. They're floral patterns. So a lot of them have stuff on the outside too. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll do my first few shapes, and then we'll talk about it just a little bit more. All right, so hopefully that gives you kind of an idea of what we're talking about. Same shapes, same designs, same spots on each slice of our design. If I turn it this way, it looks the same as if I turn it this way, and the same as if I turn it this way. Now, it's not 100% the same, it's not perfect, but it's the best I can do, and that's all I need from you guys, is the best you can do. All right, so that should give you a pretty good idea. I'm going to go ahead and add some more stuff, some more patterns, some more lines. I'll speed it up real quick so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me draw much longer, but I do want you to see kind of the final thing before you get started with yours. All right, here we go. All right, guys, so there's my radial design. If I wanted to, I could, keep coloring in, but I just wanted to go ahead and give you guys an idea of what I'm pretty sure it will look like when it's done. Good job on yours. Remember, the goal is that each slice, whether you stopped at the 4 slices or you made more like I did, each slice of our radial design has the same stuff. Think about the pattern project from last week. Simple patterns, complex patterns. That would be a great thing to use to fill in some of the different sections of your radial design. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Can't wait to see these. Hope everyone's doing good. There it is. See you later. Bye.